just when we thought it was going to be a slow news day, everyone. Just when we thought. Fani Willis, whoo, she's in trouble.
See, I'm so tired of hearing these idiots call my name as Fani in a way to attempt to humiliate me. Because like silly schoolboys, the name reminds them of a woman's rear.
Okay. Can I be a silly schoolboy for just a minute? Just a minute. Yeah, Fani, it does remind everyone of a woman's rear. And by the way, you're out on your fanny right about now. Huge news today, everyone. Take a look. The appeals court has disqualified Fani Willis from prosecuting the Georgia Trump case, which means basically the case is DOA, done, over. Do you know how much time it would take to reassemble an entirely new team? They disqualified her because the significant appearance of impropriety was just a little too much, given her relationship with one of the top prosecutors, one Nathan Wade. I mean, this woman has got to be unbelievably dumb. Unbelievably dumb. She's out there parading around with Nathan Wade, having a whole thing with this guy who, by the way, was married, taking like cruise after cruise after cruise, living it up with Nathan Wade, whom she's paying, who's her top prosecutor to go after Donald Trump. Take a look at what they said. After carefully considering the trial court's findings in its order, we conclude that it erred in failing to disqualify DA Willis and her office. See, I thought that long ago. I told you there was no way they could be bringing this case forward. And we just had to sit around and wait for the Court of Appeals. But in the end, justice is being done. The remedy crafted by the trial court to prevent an ongoing appearance of impropriety did nothing to address the appearance of impropriety that existed at times when D.A. Willis was exercising her broad pretrial discretion about who to prosecute and what charges to bring. You think? The court said, while it recognizes an appearance of impropriety generally is not enough to support disqualification, there is the rare case in which disqualification is mandated and no other remedy, none. Zip zero nada, my words, not theirs, will suffice to restore public confidence in the integrity of these proceedings, right? Because nobody trusted the woman, nobody trusted her. Accordingly, they wrote, we reverse the trial court's denial of the appellant's motion to disqualify D.A. Willis and her office. The filing states, as we conclude that the elected district attorney is wholly disqualified from this case, the assistant district attorneys, those are all the other people, right, whose only power to prosecute the case is derived from the constitutional authority of the district attorney who appointed them, have no authority to proceed. In other words, Fani is finito because she didn't get just some basics, like some real simple basics. Here's the prosecutor asking her.
Are you aware that Fulton County requires you to disclose any relationship with someone that you're doing business with?
I'm not aware, and I know often that things are confused with state constitutional officers in county, but I'm not aware.
You're not aware? I mean, how can you be the district attorney there in Fulton County and not be aware? I mean, is she just dumb? Didn't she campaign on the idea that she wasn't going to have flings with her personnel?
Because they deserve a DA that won't have sex with his employees. Because they deserve a DA that won't put money in their own pocket when it should go to benefit children. Because we deserve better.
Like you? We deserve you, Fani? That was Fani Willis speaking with a local news reporter when she was campaigning to get the gig as district attorney. I mean, and then she turns around and takes up with this idiot.
Our relationship was professional. Our relationship grew organically over time. It was something that was not deliberate or intentional. I made the statement earlier that workplace romances are as American as apple pie, right? That was not to make light of the situation.
Mm-hmm. What? And he's not backing down from that. No, he's not backing down. He doubled down there on MSNBC. And of course, the idiots at MSNBC, nobody even bothers to challenge him on any of this. Unbelievable stuff. Unbelievable. This thing deserved to be thrown out ages ago. It is just so beyond wrong. Significant appearance of impropriety. You think when you take up with the guy that's working for you that you're paying, you're signing off, he's charging what, $250 an hour? You're signing the checks. Word is he made like $600 or $700,000. He's running up to DC incidentally to allegedly talk to Garland and company about the case, because, you know, this was something that was very important, shall we say, to the White House. She's paying him. She's going on cruises. I mean, they may not have been like super high-end cruises, but he's taking her here, there, and everywhere with the money that she's paying him. Like, anybody else see that as maybe just a little bit of a conflict? This case is over. And you know what? You don't have to take my word for it. We can go to the CNN legal scholar. I mean, even the mainstream media has admitted that this is done.
That case against him in Georgia, the criminal case where it's accusing him and several others of a racketeering conspiracy related to the 2020 election, it's already been paused. Now it's not even backburnered. This is a case that will be dead in the water because the Georgia Court of Appeals is now saying that Fani Willis, the leader of the prosecution against Donald Trump, the district attorney in Fulton County, Georgia, she should be disqualified from being able to bring that case. The Georgia Court of Appeals is saying that it's a significant appearance of impropriety caused by the conduct of a public prosecutor. That is Willis, how she behaved, how she was speaking about the case, about Trump publicly, about how she was having a relationship with the top prosecutor that was concealed in this, a man named Nathan Wade. All of that previously the trial level judge had looked at and said, Fani Willis can stay on this case. We're not dismissing the indictment, but the Court of Appeals is now taking another look and saying, no, the trial judge was wrong. Fani Willis should be disqualified from continuing to lead this case. It would be a long process, or it will be a long process to replace her, which is why I say this case is dead in the water now without Fani Willis, the person who was leading this case against Donald Trump in Fulton County. And just to keep tabs on how many cases there are.
Yeah, they're all the cases are going away. All the cases are going away, but it's totally dead. I mean, you cannot realistically get a whole new DA in a whole new DA's office in time enough that this would ever make sense. By the way, think about this. What happens to Fani? What happens to Fani? Because oopsie daisy, I can't say this, right? She told me, no, don't make fun of my Fani.
See, I'm so tired of hearing these idiots call my name as Fani in a way to attempt to humiliate me. Because like silly schoolboys, the name reminds them of a woman's rear.
Okay, that was back in June. So Fani, who was willing to put the now president-elect, former president of the United States, in jail, went out of her way to make sure that she got a mugshot of him, is now finding herself in a whole lot of trouble. You see, Fani, whatever you want to call her, could see her Fani in the slammer, so to speak. Mike David, who's one of the attorneys for Trump, went on our friend Benny's show a little while ago. And this guy just cracks me up. But anyway, he crystallized it. He's like, listen, this woman could be facing disbarment. She could be facing jail.
And so now I got to ask you about the future. Do you think that Fani Willis may be facing disbarment or jail?
She should face both. I mean, she is obviously corrupt. Her office just got disqualified because of her corruption. The state of Georgia should bring state fraud and corruption charges, and the feds need to bring federal fraud and corruption charges in addition to the criminal conspiracy against rights. And you have to ask this question of Merrick Garland, who says that nobody's above the law. Where the hell is the criminal probe of Fani Willis and Nathan Wade? And maybe they don't want to bring this criminal probe because it ties directly to the Biden White House, including Biden White House counsel's office. Nathan Wade had 2 meetings, again, $4,000 worth of his time billed to Fulton County taxpayers, 16 hours for his 2 meetings. Maybe that's why Merrick Garland is protecting Joe Biden and Joe Biden's White House again.
But guess what? There's a whole new team coming in. I don't think they're going to protect these folks. And you know what? They shouldn't. I realize Donald Trump says, oh, he wants to move on, this, that, and the other. And that's great. And that's magnanimous of him. But reality is you can't have prosecutors thinking they can do this with sort of political arsenal reasons, right? They can't be using taxpayer dollars to go after political enemies at the behest of the White House, which is what it looks like. Nathan Wade running up to D.C. for $4,000 worth of his time that, you wonder how much Fani got back, all so that they could get this mugshot, which incidentally, Donald Trump raised a ton of money off of, because everybody's like, come on. He doesn't have the right to say, hey, can you count those votes again? I mean, they counted them again in Florida, I do recall. Al Gore was on the losing end of that one, but you ought to be able to say, hey, can you do this? Well, they went after him on a racketeering charge. It was bogus. It was crazy. And these people aren't smart enough, clearly, to ever figure out how to do anything anyway. They had the B team in Fani Willis and Nathan Wade. So Mike Davis went on, and he's pretty funny about it. Apparently, she's like a Grey Goose kind of girl, so she was charging enough in terms of, whatever the kickbacks were for the cruises, etc. It's funny. Listen.
She paid him $250 an hour, $700,000 in Fulton County funds to bring a RICO case against President Trump and 18 others for the non-crime of objecting to a presidential election, which is allowed by the Electoral Count Act of 1887 and the First Amendment. And if that's not a big enough problem that she hired her secret boyfriend, she also took illegal kickbacks from her dumb, unqualified boyfriend in the form of lavish trips around the world. Poor Nathan had to take Fani Willis to Belize and the Caribbean and Napa, all over the world. Remember, Fani Willis testified that she's a Grey Goose girl. She's a high-class woman. I was going to use another word, but I'll get in trouble on your show. So she took these illegal kickbacks, which means that she has a financial stake in the case. You're paying someone to handle your prosecution in your office, and then you're taking money in return. Not only does that disqualify you from the case, it disqualifies the entire office from the case, and it's also very serious criminal violations, like, for example, federal honest services fraud, maybe bribery, maybe other statutes. And
I want to just expand upon that, because I've said that from the beginning. I mean, one of the big questions in all of this was just exactly how much did she get out of it? Now, the reason why they were not successful in the first go around, and I think the judge was flawed. I think he was scared. I think he didn't know what to do. I think he actually should have made exactly the decision that the appeals court just made. But the reason that they were reluctant was they were like, well, maybe it wasn't that much money. Well, how do you know how much money it was? Remember how proud her dad was of saying, that it was actually a black thing, that they kept cash, that a lot of transactions were done in cash, and that she apparently paid him back for all the cruises and the Grey Goose martinis, et cetera, et cetera. But here was my question all along, and I was demanding that somebody go in there and do some forensic accounting, because what if she was paying him what? It was $600,000, $700,000 that he got from taxpayers? What if it wasn't just cruises and Grey Goose? What if it was actually a portion of the earnings in some way, shape, or form? Maybe she's like the agent. She's like, I want 15% off the top. That's what I wanted them to figure out, and that's what I still want them to figure out. Where did all that money go? Napa Valley, Belize, etc., dinners out. But I think that they actually might possibly discover there's more there. We wouldn't even know about this, guys, if it wasn't for the ex-wife. So, he takes up with Fani Willis, and his ex-wife was kind of annoyed, right? She was his wife at the time. And so she exposed it all of it. How many times was Fani there with him? I guess at her pad, he was like constantly over at her place. while he was interviewing for the job, that's a biggie. So wait, were they already an item? They may have been. Because he was reportedly hanging out a lot of times at her condo there in Fulton County. So if that's going down and then she hires him, I think you get a lot of questions to ask. I think Kash Patel is going to have a field day. I think Pam Bondi is going to have a lot of work to do. And then you got to consider this. So knowing that Fani is now kaput, she's out, disqualified from bringing any of these cases forward, what happens to Leticia James? We'll go back to Mike Davis. just one more time for that.
Let me just say this to Big Tish James, the New York Attorney General. I dare you to try to continue your lawfare against President Trump in his second term. Because listen here, sweetheart, we're not messing around this time, and we will put your fat ass in prison for conspiracy against rights. And I promise you that. So think long and hard before you want to violate President Trump's constitutional rights or any other American's constitutional rights. It's not going to happen again.
We've been warning people on the show, Mike. This isn't the same Trump administration. Stop messing around. Don't rig elections. Don't illegally vote. Don't try the funny business, because we know the team this time and they are not effing around.
No, Benny's right. Benny's totally right. Like, this is not their first rodeo. They were there before Donald Trump was in office before, and he saw what happened. And he saw how he got trapped or tripped up in that whole Russia thing, like for 4 straight years. How they were constantly feeding these false narratives, which all turned out to be wrong. How they, in my estimation, and I said this at the time, got me in a whole lot of trouble, but back in March 2020, I'm like, they're going to use this. They are going to use this to unseat him. They are going to use this to shut down the country, scare the hell out of everyone, and make sure that you can't vote for Donald Trump again. They want to destroy him. And it's what they did. I mean, maybe it was just a coincidence. It kind of fell in their lap, but they ran with that, right? They ran all the way they could to the end goal, to the field goal with that ball in hand. And so Donald Trump knows that. He knows what they did. Now everything's getting exposed. Everything is falling apart. And I think Leticia James is the next to fall. Her case is waiting on the Court of Appeals in the state of New York. And they made it very clear. I mean, as soon as the woman who's representing her case, Judith Vil, got up to speak in front of these judges, like immediately, they shut her down. Remember this?
May it please the court, Judith Vil for the New York Attorney General's office. All of the defendants repeatedly violated... Ms.
Vil, can you identify any previous case in which the Attorney General sued under Executive Law 6312 to upset a private business transaction that was between equally sophisticated partners, where the supposed victim had the ability and legal obligation to discover the allegedly misrepresented matters by conducting its own due diligence, where the supposed wrongdoer advised the supposed victim through written disclaimers to conduct its own due diligence and to draw its own conclusions, where the alleged misrepresentation almost entirely concerned inherently subjective valuations of properties and businesses.
Yes.
And where the victim never complained about any fraud in the transaction or losses from it. Because I've gone through the cases which you've cited, and all of them always involved the consumer protection aspect. It involved protection of the market.
Several responses.
And I want to add to his question, and little to no impact on the public marketplace.
Okay, so Leticia's next. All right, Leticia, who says that she's got steel in her backbones. Leticia James, who will not be intimidated by the likes of one Donald Trump because she's just a little toughie. She's proud of the hundreds of cases that she brought against his administration, and she wants you to know she's not going to back down. Except, of course, she may be forced to back down. Like, seriously, forced by the Court of Appeals. We're waiting on the decision. I think it should come any day now. Here we go.
I will not fear Donald Trump. I have steel in my backbone. And the reality is I will not allow this person, Donald Trump, who unfortunately is a broken man, to get in the way of progress and to separate us.
4 days after a judge ordered.
Yeah. Leticia, I hate to break it to you, honey, but you're going exactly the way of Fani. This stuff is getting shut down. All of these cases. Because they never had anything to begin with. Leticia James, I mean, that one really blows me away. I think that's sort of the craziest of all. I mean, they're all crazy, don't get me wrong. And maybe it's just my background in business journalism that I really just, I'm like, in background on Wall Street, I'm like, who are you, Leticia, to decide how much a particular property is worth and thus how much Deutsche Bank should be willing to lend one Donald Trump? You're going to stick your nose in the middle of that transaction? I mean, it literally makes no sense. And she needs to pay the price for that. And these are rabid prosecutors that are really engaging in, as they say, lawfare. It is a kind of warfare, and it's very dangerous and sets really terrible precedents. And they get the media on their side, of course. More on that in a moment. But first, you know what? Have you been watching the market? Crazy stuff going on. I know. Well, take a look here at our portfolios at 76 Research, 76research.com. You can get 76, the report. The 76 report for just $1 a month, code word dollar, DOLLAR. Go to 76research.com. Check it out. We have 3 different portfolios. You can sign up for the 76 report or the portfolios, a basic income builder. We have an inflation protection portfolio. And we also have, this is my financial research company that I created with a very dear longtime friend, brilliant stock picker, who's managed billions of dollars for a very long time. And we got him over here to 76 Research. Anyway, there's 3 portfolios. There's also an American Resilience portfolio, which is really more focused on growth. But go check them out there, 76research.com. I also want to give a plug for Grand Canyon University, one of our wonderful sponsors here on the show. It's a private Christian university in beautiful Phoenix, Arizona. And they believe, like we do, that we are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. GCU believes in equal opportunity, and the American dream starts with purpose. GCU equips you to serve in ways that promote human flourishing and create a ripple effect of transformation for generations to come. By honoring your career calling, your impact on family, your friends, and your community, you are doing what God intended you to do. Change the world for good by allowing and putting others before yourself to glorify God. Whether you're pursuing a bachelor's, a master's, or doctoral degree, GCU's online, on-campus, and hybrid learning environments are designed to help you achieve your unique academic, personal, and professional goals. With 350 academic programs as of June 2024, GCU meets you where you are and provides a path to help you fulfill your dreams. The pursuit to serve others is yours. Let it flourish. I love that. Find your purpose at Grand Canyon University. Private, Christian, affordable. Just visit gcu.edu today. And oh my gosh, we're going into December. It's like the hardest time, right? To keep control of one's diet and make sure that we drink enough water and stay nutritious. Well, I stay nutritious thanks to Balance in Nature, balanceinature.com, one of the great sponsors of the Trish Regan Show. You can stay as nutritious and healthy as possible as you can as well with code TRISH. 35% off, year-end special, 1-800-246-8751, 1-800-246-8751. Just go to balanceofnature.com today. Free shipping as well. So use code word TRISH, TRISH, for that 35% off and free shipping. Oh my gosh, have you been watching this CR thing? I mean, this is amazing. They put thousands of pages in front of us and they're like, okay, now we're just going to pass this or else the government's going to shut down. And what are you going to do then? Well, Elon Musk, like, heck yeah, let the government shut down because it's not right to put all this pork in there. And we're talking a lot of pork that's in the continuing resolution. So he kind of stirred things up over on Twitter. And before you know it, he's got a tweet like this one out saying, your elected representatives have heard you and now the terrible bill is dead. The voice of the people has triumphed. In other words, Elon was able to rattle the cages and get the word out. And all of a sudden, everybody looked at this bill and they're like, oh my gosh, what the heck are you talking about? Like, come on. I mean, you get Christmas only a few days away and you guys are trying to stuff this one through. Are you kidding me? I mean, what are the Democrats thinking? What is Chuck Schumer thinking? What are the Republicans thinking that were willing to go along? Oh, I know. They were going to get a pay raise out of it, right? Well, one of the little items we had Pat Toomey, Senator Toomey, on the show the other day to talk about was this $50 billion giveaway effectively for Big Pharma, right? Like a little stocking stuffer bill that was included in this thing. It was a dramatic expansion of government intervention in the private healthcare market. It was handing Big Pharma this massive profit windfall, and it was at the expense of the American people. So this was kind of a sneak attack, and we were saying this is something that kind of people need to get in front of. And guess what? You guys did. And Twitter helped. I mean, you got every year Big Pharma out there hiking the prices on these drugs because it's good for them, right? The prescription drugs. And they're hiking them at a rate that's way higher than inflation. As you know, drug companies are setting the price, then they're hiking the price, and Americans are locked into these medicines. And what happens if they get in the way and then they don't allow for other companies to negotiate better prices because now the government's suddenly in charge, in cahoots, if you would, with Big Pharma? Well, that's not fair. That's not right. I mean, we shouldn't be having to subsidize the Big Pharma health companies, right? And so this was just one of the many things. I mean, there were people that were concerned about some biolabs that were allegedly being added in there. They didn't like the idea of that. And so again, Elon took to Twitter. He was tweeting everything out. Everybody mobilized. And before you know it, the thing died. Whoopi Goldberg is furious. I mean, why on earth she wanted this continuing resolution that was thousands of pages long with a bunch of stuff that nobody knew about in there, you got me. But now she's out on The View saying, oh, it's all Elon's fault, and maybe Elon's really the one running the government. And then she takes it a step further, and she's like, hey, maybe it really is Elon and J.D. Vance. And I mean, she makes some pretty wild accusations. I'll leave it at that. We'll let her say it. Crazy woman that she is.
Who is in charge? Because I've been saying it for a while.
Yes, you have.
I've been saying that I think Elon Musk believes he's president. I do.
Well, you've been calling him vice president.
I've called him vice president. I called him president because I don't know what JD is doing. I hardly ever say. I don't remember the last time we even talked about JD.
You're right. He's planning the presidency when they get rid of Trump.
So you think it's Musk Vance?
Possible.
Hey, you know who? Stay away from the stairways. Because, people put the leg out to trip you going down the stairs. Watch out.
Wow. I mean, you want to talk conspiracy theory, conspiracy theorist. Whoopi Goldberg, I think you have outdone Rachel Maddow. Where's Rachel when you need? Oh gosh, she's off. It's Thursday. Rachel doesn't work on Thursday or Friday or Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday or Wednesday either. She just has one show once a week. For a reported $25 million, she had to take a pay cut, down $5 million for that one show a week. And so Whoopi has to fill the void. Someone has to do it, right? I mean, we just wish it wasn't actually on federally owned airwaves, that they were promoting constant conspiracy theories and truly trying to work, in my estimation, against the American people. That show is, I won't even say the word. I'll spell it. CRAP. That is what that show is, and it doesn't belong on television. You can have an opinion, fine, all right? Go do a podcast, go onto cable, but don't use up our network airwaves with CRAP. So she thinks, because Elon, in my estimation, did a very good deed getting in front of this train wreck, she thinks because he did that somehow he's controlling the country. I would just add to this, you know what? Elon also wanted Howard Lutnick to be Treasury Secretary because Howard really likes Bitcoin and Elon really likes cryptos, et cetera. And Donald Trump didn't go with that. No. He went with Scott Bessent. Scott Bessent, who wasn't like the MAGA pick, but Scott Bessent, who he probably felt at the end of the day might be better signing our Treasury notes than Howard Lutnick for whatever reason. I have some ideas on why, but we'll leave that for another day. So Howard's great, and now he's Commerce Secretary. Fine. But Elon wanted Howard. And Trump's like, nope, because he actually is his own man. But guess what? His own man that he is was also saying, this doesn't look very good. I mean, when Vivek is out tweeting that as head of Doge, along with Elon, he wants to be able to look at this thing before it passes, and it's 1,400 pages long or 1,800 pages long. How does anybody have the time to read it? Well, Vivek did. He did read the whole thing. And he's like, whoa, okay, we don't need this. And so consequently, this thing got stopped dead in its tracks. Finally, people looking out for the American people.
Right now in the past 30 or 40 minutes here that they might try to pull this interim spending bill off the floor and maybe just go with a clean bill. Unclear what that means for disaster assistance. Here's what happened. A post on X by Elon Musk sent shockwaves through the Capitol. House Republicans were trying to see if they have enough votes to pass the spending bill in the next hour or two. Musk posted that anyone who votes yes should lose their office in 2 years, and lawmakers are scrambling.
Tweets from Musk, has that complicated this?
Well, I mean, I think that there's always a lot of interest in what's happening up here, and
this is more than interest. They're telling people if they vote yes, they should be voted out.
The social media world is a part of our politics, and I think members have to expect that. There will be a lot of hard votes in the next couple of years.
A member of the House Republican leadership told Fox that Musk is not helping. The lawmaker added that Musk has bigger fish to fry than picking a fight with House Republicans. One source said the bill is now bleeding support from the GOP. When asked how many Democrats the GOP needs to pass the bill, a senior aide replied, quote, a lot. Lawmakers who had hurricanes devastate their districts are torn.
The fact is that, look, this is a sandwich. I don't know how else to say that. We're being forced into this position. They could have done a standalone. They did this because they knew that it would put members in this position to support it. We're damned if we do. We're damned if we don't.
Now, the bill has about $100 billion in disaster relief, nearly $30 billion to restock FEMA's coffers, and there are lots of health care provisions. Jamming everything together in one bill means some Republicans will not support Mike Johnson for Speaker in January.
Have any other of your colleagues said that they're not voting for Johnson?
I've talked to a few, who don't seem like they're going to vote for him. You have to ask them. I'm not going to betray anybody's position.
Will you just vote president, or will you vote someone else's name?
I'll vote for somebody else.
Now, Johnson can only lose one vote and still win the Speaker's race on January 3rd. Some Republicans ask how things are different with a spending bill like this under Johnson than former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. The funding deadline is Friday night. Neil?
That was Chad Pergam over at Fox. Really, really good reporter, and kind of lives, sleeps, eats, and breathes this stuff. He gets really excited when it's CR time. I always remember at the end of the year, it's like, oh, Chad, oh gosh. Everybody just wants to go home for Christmas, but he gets stuck there because we always deal with this, right? We always deal with this. Well, finally, somebody's like, hey, we're not going to deal with this. We're going to actually force them to do a clean CR. And then guess what? We can deal with all this other stuff and all the pork when Trump gets into office, which means it's probably not going to happen, right? No, it's not going to happen. And, they're freaking out on The View over it. Why? Like, what is in it for you, Whoopi? Don't you just actually want what's best for the people? I leave that question to you guys. Does Whoopi want what's best for the people? Oh, I'll tell you, ABC needs to cut bait, like just out with The View. It needs to end. The show is terrible, as I said. CRAP. And Disney might actually be a little bit more willing to rethink this stuff. I mean, they may be forced to by the new head of the FCC under Donald Trump because it is on network television. So there's that. And then there's the fact that Bob Iger is not exactly the most popular person with one Elon Musk, who apparently, if you listen to Whoopi, has a fair amount to say.
There was advertisers leaving. We talked to Bob Iger today.
I hope they stop.
You hope?
Don't advertise.
You don't want them to advertise?
No.
What do you mean?
If somebody's going to try to blackmail me with advertising, blackmail me with money, go yourself. But go yourself. Is that clear? I hope it is. Hey, Bob, if you're in the audience.
Well, let me ask you then.
He's talking about Bob Iger. Bob, if you're in the audience, go F yourself, right? So Bob Iger runs Disney. Disney runs ABC News. ABC News runs The View, and it also runs This Week with George Stephanopoulos, who's like their signature anchor over there, political anchor. By the way, who used to work for Bill Clinton. He was like the KJP for Bill Clinton. So you know where his allegiances are. Amazing that he's suddenly now working for ABC News as a journalist with a capital J. Give me a break. He's got very clear biases. He's very in tight with the whole Democrat establishment. He was one of them and then switched over to the airwaves. I mean, at least Jen Psaki had the decency to go to MSNBC, which prides itself on being the anti-Trump network. This guy is like masquerading as though he's a journalist, and he's not. So he's on Good Morning America, and he's got this show on the weekend, and you see, ABC News had to pay a lot of money to make this little problem with Donald Trump go away because he completely defamed him, and Donald Trump sued him and ABC as a result of it. If I were ABC, if I were Bob Iger, I'd cut my losses and say, bye-bye. You know what, Georgie Boy, we don't really need you, especially given this new revelation. According to the latest and greatest of the New York Post, ABC News' George Stephanopoulos was repeatedly warned not to use a certain word when talking about Donald Trump because, you see, Donald Trump hadn't been convicted of what he suggested he had been convicted of, and yet George Stephanopoulos used it anyway. Think about that. According to the New York Post, they've seen text messages where he was told by his producer, his executive producer, to not use the word rape before going on the air to discuss Donald Trump, but the ABC News anchor ignored the warning, a decision that cost the network $16 million, the Post learned. Quote, parent company Disney's capitulation last week in the defamation lawsuit by Trump against ABC News and Stephanopoulos shocked media and legal experts. But the damning revelation could help explain why Mouse House CEO Bob Iger, signed off on this settlement so quickly. We're told that he actually personally had to sign off on this. I mean, this is a problem. I want to play for you what he said and think about what you know now. So the executive producer was like, don't use this word. Don't use this word. So it's not like it was an honest mistake. It wasn't like it slipped. And he didn't use it just once. It kept coming up. Watch.
Still get judged for it today.
I'm asking you a very simple question.
And I answered it. You're shaming me for my political choices.
I'm asking you a question about why you endorse someone who's been found liable for rape.
It was not a criminal court. This was
a civil court.
It was a civil court. And by the way, she joked about the judgment and what she was going to do with all that money. And I find that offensive.
I'm asking you about the man.
But as a rape victim who's been shamed for years now because of her rape, you're trying to shame me again by asking me this political question.
You've repeated that again.
I think it's offensive. As a woman, I find it offensive. My political choices, I've endorsed the man that I believe is best for our country. It's not Joe Biden. And you looked at the dueling rallies yesterday in Georgia. Laken Riley's family was with Donald Trump. They weren't with Joe Biden. The same guy yesterday that apologized for calling her killer an illegal, who wasn't illegal. And here you are trying to shame a rape victim. I find it disgusting.
I mean, you keep saying I'm shaming you.
You are. The question, it is.
How is the question asking you about a presidential candidate who's
You're asking a rape victim.
And there's no question about that. And you've courageously talked about that.
Because I've been raped. I think that's disgusting.
No, I'm questioning your political choices because you're supporting
me. You're
someone who's been found liable for rape. Actually, I'm not trying to shame you.
You are. That's exactly
what you're doing. You're not answering the question.
I think it's disgusting.
Well, you're welcome to say that, but you also have to answer the question. Why are you supporting someone who's been found liable for rape?
I just answered your question.
What is the answer?
He was not found guilty in a criminal court of law. It was sexual abuse. It wasn't actually rape, by the way. And E. Jean Carroll joked about all the money she's going to get and made a mockery out of this case. And I think that's offensive. There's a reason why women don't come forward. And when you have someone who says that they're raped and they make a mockery out of this civil court judgment, it's offensive to other women. It makes it harder for other women to come forward when another woman has made a mockery of it.
You said women don't come forward because they are afraid. They are afraid because they're defamed
and shamed
by those
like you're trying to shame me this morning.
They are afraid to come forward, as you said, because they are defamed by those who commit the rape. That's what Donald Trump has been found guilty of doing.
He defended himself over that and denies that it ever happened, but he was not found guilty in a criminal court of law.
You know, we should go like ding, ding, ding every time Georgie Boy says that. Remember, he was told by his executive producer not to say it. So he was deliberately insubordinate. And now he's mad? He's mad? Exploding over the $16 million settlement? He's mad. Give me a break. This guy is just kind of a jerk. Really and truly a jerk. The anchor's frustration with the network couples both the personal and professional strain the episode has taken on him. We really feel bad. And it appears to have boiled over as he has since deactivated his X account, cutting ties with his more than 2.3 million followers. The decision to settle has also left ABC News staffers seething, because they can't libel somebody. Good. You shouldn't be able to libel people. If he wasn't found guilty of that, why are you saying he was, Georgie? And why do you still have a job, Georgie? I mean, okay? He was not found liable for that. And yet Georgie went on and did this. I'll tell you, you know what they need to do? They need to fire him. They need to just cut the cord. Sorry, you know what? We don't really need you. Of course, that place is so insane, and they eat up anybody with a decent bit of talent because little George, and I mean he's little, like really little, like, you know, I can put him in my pocket. Little George doesn't want any competition. So they don't have a bench. They're like, well, who do we put in? Can't be David Muir. He's more concerned with his hair than anything else, right? Like, I like David, but he's not necessarily deep. So who do you put in? I don't think they have anyone. But I think they're looking, and they got to start looking really, really fast because this guy, forget about it. You got reason, now you got cause. Get rid of him. And you know what, Bob Iger, maybe that's your solution. Maybe that's your bridge to Elon and to Trump. Heck, Jeff Bezos is down there last night having dinner at Mar-a-Lago with his hot wife, right? Like in a very skimpy dress, hanging out at Mar-a-Lago. Mark Zuckerberg went down to Mar-a-Lago. And where are you? With your lawyers, figuring out how you're going to make the Georgie problem go away. Well, he did it once. He'll do it again. So why are you going to re-sign him? Apparently, Variety had the same reaction as me. And they published this yesterday saying George Stephanopoulos' future at ABC News is in question after the network settled with Donald Trump. Well, Georgie didn't like that. ABC didn't like that. So immediately, like within minutes, out came this little article in the LA Times. They said, George just signed a whole new deal with ABC, and he's going to remain with the Good Morning America program, which has recently fallen behind NBC's Today in the ratings. So they have better anchors over on NBC, I'll be honest. Like they've tried to do this church and state thing with MSNBC and NBC, and so they've kind of tried to keep the Today Show anchors away from all this stuff, but Georgie obviously engages in it very directly. So the interesting thing about this article, I didn't see them say how long he had signed on for. Like maybe they gave him another 6 months. Maybe that's the deal. Hey, we're going to give you 6 months and we'll put out a press release saying we just renewed your deal. And maybe we can help this gossip about you die down. Here's the article. Good Morning America co-host George Stephanopoulos, who is taking fire over Walt Disney Company's decision to settle President-elect Donald Trump's defamation suit against ABC News, isn't going anywhere. The Los Angeles Times writes, Stephanopoulos, 63 years old. Gosh, you know what? He's all set for retirement. He's past the 62 mark. And he should have millions by now, right? Hopefully he invested it well. Recently agreed to a new multi-year contract. Okay, I stand corrected. Multi-year contract to remain with the ABC News morning program, according to several people familiar with the matter, but could not comment publicly. An ABC News rep declined comment. Here's what I'm going to tell you, though. A lot of those contracts, they have outs. And ABC News may, at some point, decide to use one of those outs. They also have the pay-to-play clause. So they could pay him to just go away and sit on the sidelines, and then they protect themselves from him going to another network, etc. That happens a lot in television news. They pay you, but you have to stay quiet. And you can't go anywhere else or do anything else. So it's entirely possible that they were very clever about how they did this. If I were Bob Iger, I'd be really annoyed, especially learning that this guy, Georgie, was told repeatedly that you're not supposed to do this. But clearly, the inmates are running the asylum over there at ABC News. Just watch The View any day of the week, and it's quite a given. Reminder, Christmas is coming up, and you may have missed the Christmas deadline. But, hey, you can toast the new year with your Live Free or Die mug or one of our great patriotic hats. Go over to the Trish Regan shop, trishregan.shop today, trishregan.shop, SHOPREGAN. You know. Okay, Donald Trump is making it his first priority to seal the border shut. And Tom Homan is the guy who's going to be the enforcer here. And let me just say, Tom Homan does not mess around. Remember this?
First of all, your comments are disgusting. I've served my country.
I've served my country for 34 years.
I find your comments
This is out of
disgusting
control.
as well.
I've served my country for 34 years. And yes, I held a 5-year-old boy in my arms in back of that tractor trailer. I knelt down beside him and said a prayer for him because I knew what his last 30 minutes of his life were like. And I had a 5-year-old son at the time. What I've been trying to do my 34 years serving my nation is to save lives. So for you to sit there and insult my integrity and my love for my country and for children, that's why this whole thing needs to be fixed. And you're the member of Congress.
We agree on that.
Fix it.
We agree on that, but I disagree. But I also disagree with your characterization of immigrants as prone to criminality.
People for 3 decades on this. Gentlemen, time is.
Look, you want to know why there's 50,000 people in detention? You want to know why we have 1 million illegal entries in the United States? You want to know why we have these issues? Because you have failed to secure the border. You have failed to work with this president to close the 3 loopholes we've asked for 2 years to close. So if you want to know why this issue exists, you need to look in the mirror. You have failed American people for not securing the border and closing loopholes.
Mr. Homan, please respect the chair and the authority of the chair. The time of the gentleman has expired.
I've asked you politely to let me go beyond my time, and you let other people go beyond their time, but not to Tom Homan. He don't get me go beyond his time.
Mr. Homan, we have approved an agreement between the Republicans and the Democrats with the ranking member. We increased the time of one witness, one member of Congress who was interrupted by a protest. That is done with the approval of the ranking member. Please respect the chair's authority.
I respect the chair's authority, but the chair...
Mr. Homan!
You work for me. I'm a taxpayer. I'm a taxpayer. You work for me.
So the recommendation, of the many that you recommended family separation.
I recommended zero tolerance.
Which includes family separation.
The same as is with every U.S. citizen parent gets arrested when they're with a child.
Zero tolerance was interpreted as the policy that separated children from their
If I get arrested for DUI and I have a young child in the car, I'm going to be separated. When I was a police officer in New York and I arrested a father for domestic violence, I separated that father from his family.
Mr. Homan, with all due respect, legal asylees are not charged with any crime.
When you enter the country illegally, it's violation 8 United States Code 1325.
Seeking asylum is legal.
If you want to seek asylum and go through the port of entry, do it the legal way. The Attorney General of the United States has made that clear.
Okay.
Wow. Okay, so this is the guy in charge of the border. I mean, he's not messing around. I've known him a long time. He's been on this show. He's been on my shows over the years. And he's really serious about this. He's very committed to this. He was on CNN last night talking about his plans, what he intends to do on day one.
Well, look, I'm looking at, the number of people that were released in the United States by this administration. I'm looking at how many of aliens have been already deported by the Immigration Court. How many are out on ATD that have orders? How many are currently in detention that have orders? And looking at what the level, the time level of some of the hearings are going to be in certain jurisdictions of the country. How many criminal aliens? We know there's over 700,000 illegal aliens with criminal convictions on the streets of this country. So that'll, of course, be a priority. So I'm looking at a lot of different data sets to figure out where and when and how we're going to do this.
So how many days after Trump is sworn in before this effort to carry out the mass deportations begins? I know you said it starts on day one, but after how many days will we actually start to see that happening?
Day one. Day one will be ICE officers across the country will be out on the streets. Right out of the gate, President has made it clear, and I've made it clear, the priority right out of the gate is public safety threats and national security threats. And there's plenty of them to find, right? I looked at the data under the Biden administration. The deportation of criminal aliens have decreased 74%. So we have all those folks that the Biden administration failed to deport, plus you got this over 10 million encounters on the southern border that they came across. We got a lot of them to look for too. So the public safety threats are plenty, and it's going to keep us busy.
I think the estimates are somewhere around 700,000 nationwide known criminals that are here illegally. And yet the amazing thing is, right, the Democrats thought they could ride this one all the way to the White House. And it turned out that key voting bloc, that key group, Hispanics, they voted more than they've ever voted for a Republican in the past. They voted for Donald Trump. So go figure. It turns out Hispanics who are here legally and can vote, they don't really want the illegal migrants coming across the border and wreaking havoc in their communities, etc. either. I sat down moments ago with Mary Thomas from Job Creators Network. Mary actually ran the ground game there at Job Creators Network to get the voter the registration, get the vote out for Hispanics all across the country. And I talked to her about this because this is a very important voting bloc, and Trump got it right. She and her team went door to door. They got it right. So how do we keep getting it right? Here, take a listen. I'm joined by Mary Thomas from Job Creators Network. Mary, it is good to see you.
Good to see you too, Trish.
Merry Christmas, happy holidays. Wow, I'm looking at the numbers here. Walk us through it. This was a massive increase for Donald Trump with Hispanics. In other words, I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, the Republican Party has ever seen numbers like this for a candidate from the Hispanic population.
No, I mean, this is really, it was history. Donald Trump made history. He got the largest percentage of the Hispanic vote of any Republican presidential candidate ever. He had a 14-point increase from 2020 to 2024. So about 46% of the Hispanic votes, almost half. Huge
Amazing. I mean, so it shows you, this is a group of people, and I hate to lump people into groups, right? Because I think that's actually something that Trump did beautifully. He didn't lump them into groups. He realized everybody had the exact same concerns, inflation, safety, etc. But this is a group that's very much, I think, up for the takes. I don't know how the Democrats at this point hold on to them. But before we get there, tell me about what you did, because I know you had personal involvement at Job Creators Network. You guys were like all over this. You recognized this opportunity from the beginning. How is it that you on the ground were able to affect the turnout in this election cycle for Hispanics?
Yeah, so we knew that looking at the data, the Hispanic population in battleground states would be the deciding factor in this election. And we also knew that in our 20 plus years in the conservative movement, our side has never been able to actually get the Hispanic vote out. So we had to do something different. So we actually did a lot of what, President Trump did, followed his lead. We went out to the communities. We actually listened to people. We treated everyone like an American, but we went to their communities. We talked to them, heard their concerns, and then we basically trained their community leaders, pastors, and small business owners to help get the message out and help encourage people to get out to vote and to vote their values.
It's one of the things that I love about what you guys do, and what I think actually makes you really unique is that you're a national organization, but you're very, very grassroots in your efforts. And I encourage people, by the way, go to Job Creators Network if you want to get involved, if you want to volunteer, if you want to sign up, if you want to help them with a donation year end, anything that you can do. They actually work with community leaders, and they help train community leaders to get, well, to help take our country back, frankly. I mean, you guys are really just out there knocking on doors and doing the grassroots effort, which, Mary, I think is going to become increasingly important, because we want in this new era to restore a lot of the power to the communities, to the states, and to the people.
Yes, the power is the best when it's in the hands of the people. We truly believe that. And so we should be making our decisions like parents should be making decisions for their own children. That was a big issue with the Hispanic community. We have to allow, it should be we the people, right? Not the elitists up in DC who are directing our government.
For sure. Speak to me about that specifically and how you think that resonated with the Hispanic population, given the sort of family-centric nature of Hispanics who are here and here legally. I can't imagine, that they were okay with a lot of the top-down stuff. Isn't that what they were trying to flee?
Yes, exactly. They were trying to flee that. They were trying to flee socialism, basically government control over everything that we do. They wanted to come to America for freedom and the opportunity to achieve the American dream. And they saw, under Biden, under Harris, that ability to achieve the American dream was really gone. They were working 2, 3, 4 jobs. Their children were being indoctrinated and attacked in schools, told that, we shouldn't be proud of our country, be proud of America. And so it was really fundamentally against everything that they believe in and everything that they came to this country to, that they were escaping from, our country was turning into.
Okay, so going forward, it's an important voting block. How does Trump keep them? I mean, I think, the economy is going to have a lot to do with it. Border is going to have a lot to do with it, while simultaneously putting forward his whole border plan, because a lot of people on the left take that and say, this is anti-Hispanic. It's not really, but it could be interpreted as that. How do you, in terms of what you're doing with all the, knocking on doors and the grassroots level, how do you make sure that you cultivate and keep this group?
Yeah, so when we're talking about immigration, when we were talking on the ground to people, Hispanics were very, very supportive of stopping illegal immigration. They came to this country, most of them legally, and they believe in giving everyone equal opportunity and achieving the American dream and having safe communities. But we need to do, just like you said, the Hispanic vote is growing. We have to, conservatives, if we want to continue to protect freedom in our country, we have to grow our support within the Hispanic community. They're and fastest growing ethnic group in the nation. So we have to go out just as we did and genuinely engage, develop relationships with people, and really, bring our message of freedom, because when they hear our message, when they see us, they know that their values align with ours.
It's amazing because they kept trying to paint Trump as a racist, as a bigot, as a sexist maniac, right? And at the end of the day, what you actually saw is he's got the biggest tent of all. The Republican Party has never seen such a big tent.
Absolutely, because he's an ordinary American. Like, even though, he obviously made a lot of money and had wonderful, successful businesses, he knows how to interact and how just, to act with everyone, right? From no matter what, like if it's a lawyer, a doctor, any type of person, garbage truck driver, everyone is an American, and we all have the same dreams, and we all believe in, protecting freedom and protecting our country.
It's amazing. It's like so simple. And yet it's so evasive, right? For the elite who, frankly, in my estimation, kind of look their nose down on a lot of working class Americans, and they're up here and they're better than that. And Trump's like, you're you. Right? I don't care if you haul garbage, you should be proud of that. I don't care if you are Elon Musk, right? Like it's just a very different philosophy than we've seen from a lot of traditional Republicans and a lot of traditional what has become the Democrat Party. So when it gets back to, again, courting this group, how powerful if things go right, and I know you're a big part of that, and Job Creators Network is a big part of it. So again, everybody, if you're watching this, go check them out on Job Creators Network. See how you can get involved in your local community. See how you can contribute in any way, whether it's just you yourself and labor, getting out there, joining Mary, knocking on doors, or whether it's a gift at year end, tax deduction. Take a look at Job Creators Network. But how do you guys grow this, and what do you think it could really grow to? If you say, what was it, 46% of the Hispanic vote that he got, a 14% increase from 2020, what could it be?
Oh, I think we can definitely exceed 50%. I mean, we can go, maybe even get 75 or above. Because again, if we go out and we talk to people and we tell them the truth, then there's no combating that. Really, their values, the Hispanic community's values, align with ours. 1.5 million new Hispanic voters every single year. This is the thing that the Republican Party really should be focused on. This is what is going to win us the elections, and it's a natural fit.
It is. No, it's terrific that you guys are doing it. I'm so excited for you. Congratulations on everything. Again, jobcreatorsnetwork.com. Mary, good to see you. Merry Christmas.
Thank you so much. Merry Christmas.
Just a really great group. We thank Mary for joining us. Quick mention there for our friends over at Balance of Nature. Again, one of the great sponsors of the Trish Regan Show. I just want to flag that they have a special going on right now, 35% off with code word Trish. Call them at 1-800-246-8751. I get my fruits and veggies from them every single day, like literally. So all my vitamins that I need, I've told you guys before, I am always in need of vitamin D. Like I can never get enough vitamin D. I don't get enough sun, especially at this time of year. So Balance of Nature plays a very important role in my life. Fruits and veggies I take every day. They have a whole bunch of stuff though. Go check out their website, balanceofnature.com. Today there's tons of testimonials of people that have really felt better as a result of making sure they do get those vitamins daily. It's really, really important. They send it right to you. You get free shipping with code word Trish, 1-800-246-8751. And have you been watching the markets? That was something yesterday, was it not? Of course, I was buying in the last 15 minutes or so. It kind of caught me by surprise. I think people really reacted negatively to what the Fed was saying. Jerome Powell kind of freaking people out because he said, hey, you know what? And this is what's funny about it. Hey, we don't need so many interest rate cuts anymore because the economy is increasingly now on stable footing. Well, the markets kind of panicked because they get very addicted to that sugar. Hey, I think it's good because we need a chance of actually having real growth. And that real growth is going to come from the right kinds of policies, right? You don't want both fiscal and monetary stimulus happening together because then you get inflation. In fact, Jerome Powell did Biden no favors because Biden's out there with Congress pushing this multi-trillion-dollar package through, simultaneously giving the third stimmy, all while Jerome Powell's printing money. Well, that was just a recipe for disaster. That was a recipe for mass inflation. Now we're in a situation where, yes, they still cut again. I'm like, really? Again? Because I can feel the animal spirits. I can feel the excitement in the markets. You look at the internals of the market and what it's been telling you all along, ever since the election, and actually prior to the election, one, Donald Trump was going to win, and two, that people were really excited about the policy that would be resulting from a Donald Trump win. And so that was evident. That was clear. I almost think that the Fed didn't need to be there with lower rates. But they were there again. Another quarter point cut just yesterday, and they got 2 more cuts on the way in the year 2025. Well, the market's like, oh, it's not enough. I'm like, guys, get over it. It's totally enough. You're going to be fine, all right? Because there's a lot going on that's really good. We're on the cusp of some major revolutionary changes as far as I'm concerned, especially within the tech space. So good reason to look at our American Resilience portfolio at 76research.com, 76research.com. Or if you don't want to get a portfolio yet, if you don't want to subscribe for $1 a month, I think you guys can afford it, right? $1 a month. It goes to $9.95 after the first 2 months. But guess what? You don't even have to pay $1. If you don't like it, you can cancel anytime. So go take a look at 76research.com. Use code word dollar, DOLLAR. Hopefully you're getting a little time off over Christmas. And it's a good chance to kind of reassess and think about your investing and your long-term horizon for investing. And then if you just don't want to commit to anything, but you're kind of interested in what we offer, go to investinmaga.com. Investinmaga.com is our guide to investing in the new Trump economy. It's totally free. So we created this for you. Rob, you see him on the screen. He's a very dear friend of mine, longtime friend, who's a brilliant stock picker. And we've just had really wonderful success. Of course, it's hard to go wrong in this environment, but here's the good news. We beat the S&P, and that, my friends, is hard to do. It is good to have you here. I mean, what a day, right? Fani Willis, I told you this would happen. I told you it would happen. Sure enough, on appeal. Now we just got to get Leticia, and then we can really be thrilled that we wiped all this away. But then you still have some heavy lifting to do because you got to make sure that this stuff doesn't happen again, right? You need some warning signs out there, some examples. Disbarment for sure. For Leticia, for Fani, Alvin Bragg, I'd argue he needs to be disbarred as well. At least Jack Smith had enough common sense to hightail it out of Washington, D.C. More on that coming up tomorrow. Good to have you here. Thank you for joining me live. See so many familiar faces, new ones as well. Make sure you subscribe and hit the bell so you know when I'm live, and I'll see you tomorrow.